Hello, welcome to Marriage and Relationship channel here on YouTube. I know you might be watching from other parts, other platforms or portals like the Facebook and other podcasts. So today's topic is one of those topics that people tend to talk about, but they seem unsure, just because this can vary and it comes in different shapes and forms. So it's pretty much talking about the different types of abuse in a relationship or in a marriage. So it can come in different shapes or form, like I already said, but just that sometimes we don't know how to identify or how to pinpoint what kind of abuse it is we're experiencing in a relationship, no matter what type of experience or or abuse you're experiencing in your relationships. In your relationship, it's very important for you not to ignore it but try to address it. The goal here is for me to give you like insights to different types and ideas of abuse that people normally would face. Of course, there might be other ones that I might not mention here, so that does not mean that yours is irrelevant or undermined. Physical abuse seems to be one of the main ones that people tend to experience. Oftentimes, it involves physical actions on a partner, from one partner to another, or both partners actually just abuse one another. So this could be them hitting one another, punching, beating, like slapping, kicking. In some cases, they even use weapons. They use objects. So any abuse that is visible, pretty much, that's what the physical abuse is. So it's something you can see, feel. Somebody might have swollen eyes, swollen head, bumped head, body, it could be sore, like injury based kind of, you know, abuse. Some might not be physical, but you can tell it could be redness of the area that was affected. So that is one of the um, main abuses people tend to easily identify because they might want to hide it, but friends and family may see it and point that out. Because oftentimes, people who are in abusive, especially if it's physical abuse, they tend to want to shield their partner. Then they tend to also lie as a result because they don't want their family or friends to think this is really serious. But yes, it is serious because some people have ended up losing their lives. You might be doing this and you get away with it, but every day is not Christmas. Every day is not your lucky day. So instead of abusing one another, that's why it's so confusing to me how people see relationship and marriage. They wonder, why is this so painful? It shouldn't be painful. The minute you're experiencing pain, that tells you there is some problem somewhere. So it's up to you to be honest with yourself, reflect, and figure that out. So physical abuse is never okay. Any form of abuse is never okay, but this is how this usually manifests itself. Emotional abuse or psychological abuse is one aspect of abuse. Oftentimes, this is not, of course, is not visible. But if you know, let's say this is a friend or a family member, you kind of know how they are, and all of a sudden they start to have this change in behavior. Or since they started a relationship with this individual, you just notice some awkward changes about them. This mainly will affect behavior in terms of individual, how you see yourself, your self-esteem, your self-worth. It can affect, it's pretty much targeted to the mental space. It could include verbal attacks, constant criticism, manipulation, intimidation, controlling behavior. You're never good enough. There's something wrong with you. So you're kind of always treading cautiously, very uncertain and unsure about what you're doing because it's like you keep second guessing yourself because somebody is there to quickly pound you and beat you down. So this is not emotional, sorry, this is not physical. It's non-physical, but it's equally as dangerous as physical, because some people will constantly, will gradually chip away and just develop different kinds of mental health issues by simply be constantly being in an environment where their self-esteem is beaten down, so it diminishes. This is a huge abuse that happens mostly in in many relationships, but still undermined, not considered. A lot of people, especially the abusers, would often use, will actually play down on this. It's almost as if I've never lifted a hand or finger on you. So is it not better than me just verbally attacking you and abusing you? But it's actually as bad as physical abuse. That is serious and should not be undermined. So if you're in that situation, you need to seek help. Seeking help does not end in you going to therapy. I understand the importance of therapy, but I don't want people to also think that therapy is end of it all. Part of you going to therapy, for me, the huge part of it is for you to gain insight and have access to tools and resources and strategies that will help you to actually navigate, because oftentimes people who are in any form of abuse find it so difficult to leave the abuse, and the people who are abusing them don't tend to work on themselves. So when you are in an abusive relationship, both the person who is the abuser and the person that is abused should seek urgent help, because while this person is thinking that any form of abuse, whether it's physical, non-physical abuse, it's okay, it's because there's some displacement somewhere in their mental, or psychological space. So it's very in their psyche. So it's very important for them for both parties to seek help and make a decision whether or not this is a healthy environment. Clearly, it's not a healthy environment for you to dwell in. But if you're both willing to work on it, because again, you need to also walk through the process and your experience so you can overcome those experiences, so you don't go into different spaces feeling, jittery, scared, and just suspicious of everybody who comes around you just because of the bad experiences you've had. Sexual abuse is another big one. Oftentimes, people in a relationship, especially married people, don't consider this as an abuse because it's as if this is my entitlement. We're married. People in a relationship may play down on this as well, because it's almost as if this is part of our contract, unspoken contract. So it shouldn't necessarily be an abuse since we're in a relationship and we're having sex already. So I don't understand. But it becomes an abuse when the other person is not consenting to the action. It can be an abuse when you're constantly overpowered, to be indulged in this kinds of act. So it is an abuse, is a form of an abuse. So if you are the one who is forcing yourself on your partner, regardless of whether or not they're happy, they are willing to participate, it does not matter whether you people have moments and days where you just go and have sex the entire day, the entire month, the entire year. As long as every time or any time they have giving you signs and verbally maybe said it to say, I'm not interested in having sex with you, because a lot of people, especially women, a lot of things can affect how they respond to sex. When a major event happens in their lives, they tend to, that part of their life can be, affected. I'm not saying every woman, but most women. On the other hand, most men are able to still engage no matter what. They can lose their job and still have sex. That does not mean it's every man as well. So, but majority of them. So the way they process, the way they receive or give sex is different. A lot of the time, women having sex, it comes from emotional side, from the emotional, depending on how they are feeling and depending on where they are in their lives. Some people can be heartbroken and be like, damn it, I'm gonna go and sleep with anybody and have sex. It doesn't matter, like I don't care. But again, it's led by emotion, whatever that is. But the person should be consenting to partake or participate in that act. When forced, when coerced, it is considered as an abuse because the person is not, there's no willingness participation from the other person. Financial abuse is another one, but oftentimes it is also undermined, especially in a relationship, because it's like my money is our money, your money is our money. And sometimes some tend to, you know, exploit the other person depending on who has more money. In the situation shape in the situation, um they might use words that would make you feel guilty, like they guilt you into spend or coerce you into, you know, making some financial decisions. They might spend your money without you knowing. Like you hear some cases of couples where one has access or they both have access to the financial ports, and one of them goes there, everything is gone, literally. One is just spending the money on themselves. So it's not even like they're spending money towards the household. It's pretty much for that individual's benefit. So it can include even withholding money. Like, I'm not going to spend my money, but it's okay for us to spend your money because my money is my money, you know. Or they are just constantly stopping the cards, blocking the cards, preventing the other person from having access to their financial resources. It can come in different shapes and forms. But where there are lack of understanding or decisions regarding how this money, our money, should be spent, how you even view the money coming into the household. Is my money your money or is it our money? In a case where money is not a problem, like these people are really wealthy, they have enough money, oftentimes the person who is making, bringing the main bacon in may not have any problems about how you spend your money. If anything, they will even add to your money because yours is just like a drop in the ocean. So it depends on the dynamics of the family or the household. But in a relationship, there is something called financial abuse, especially when it's withheld, you're cajoled, you're deprived access to the financial ports. I've had a case, but this is not a client, by the way. It's a friend's friend. Whenever she collects her check, I think weekly or bi-weekly, however they pay her, but she will submit the whole money to the husband, and the husband would give her what she needs for that month. Then everything else, clueless. She later found out that the husband was building a house in their country and she wasn't aware of it. She was not included in any of the processes, but she would constantly come for her money that she worked for, even to send money to her own family. Her husband would deprive her from sending her money to the family. And whenever she came back to ask for money, the husband would use abusive words and make her feel as if I brought you into this country, so I don't understand why. Were you making this kind of money when you were back home? So why would you all of a sudden start feeling that you are obliged to send money home to your family members, as in to her parents? And that is, in my opinion, financial abuse. Like she worked, but she cannot even buy anything for herself. And the money that the husband takes or collects from her, it's not even, they don't factor her personal needs. And whenever the husband would literally go to the shop and buy, let's say, sanitary towels for her, What if she needed to buy a different pair of shoe, maybe due to the one she had is broken or spot or something, but she does not have any savings of her own. And even when she asked for money to support herself, it was always questionable and declined at the end of the conversation. So that is a typical example of financial abuse. Of course, some are not to the extreme, they are subtle, but also considered as financial abuse. It doesn't always have to be your money, but it could be the family money. Let's say somebody is not working and the other party is working, and um, the person who is not working is actually contributing in other ways, like raising the kids, making sure they are okay, they are good, but they literally will have to ask, beg, kneel, cry to have any form of access to finance. And the person who is making payments, carrying the paying the bills in the household, the breadwinner, often do not regard the effort of the person who is not making any income, and they are constantly going back to them to ask for money, and they make a decision based on how they feel. So that could also, in my opinion, be considered as a financial abuse. I believe that if one person is the major breadwinner, and not even a question of your earnings little and the other person is earning a lot more, but let's say one person is taking care of the kids or the children, and the person is not earning any kind of money. You who is working, the way I think is fair to handle that kind of household is pay all the necessary bills, mortgage, rent, water bill, electricity bill, gas bill, whatever it is you need to pay. Make sure you also take out anything that requires, let's say you work outside of the house and you need to fuel your car or pay transport to get to work. All of those major bills has to be deducted. So whatever the savings you have left, it does not matter if it's one penny or $1, whatever the current, let's say is the small, you must, from whatever that is left, consider giving your partner at least 30% of whatever you have left. You can't say that's your money, because this person is contributing in a non-financial way, if at all, most hectic way. The most major part of the household is withheld or held down by this person. So you cannot disregard the person's contribution just because you have um, a job where you are rewarded. Her job in the household is not really rewarded, but it's just a responsibility that she has to do or he has to handle. So in this situation, it's fair to consider any leftover money after all the household expenses is carried out, to divide that remaining. I don't care how little that money is. 30% for the person who is at home. The person who made the money should keep 70%. I think that's fair. The next one is social isolation. In most cases, people are actually shut down from having access to family members, to any support network, to any friends, anybody who you've known before you met this person. It's almost as if now that's it. The gate is closed. Like, forget about them. Just because I'm in a relationship or marriage with you. In some cases, it might not be completely, but partially. Any form of communication is either controlled, monitored, um, especially especially if there are other abuses going on, because they want to make sure that they are not exposed, because oftentimes the person who is being abused is manipulated to the point they are just handicapped, emotionally handicapped. They understand that they don't like the situation, the condition, but yet it's as if, how do I even start to, like, what do I need to do? They feel numb in their minds and in their brains. If you have access to friends and family or support, anybody, outside of the person you're in a relationship with, they might call the BS out. They might take note of the changes and call it out. In some cases, family members or even close friends will literally be your army. they will come for the person you're in a relationship with and be like, no, you can't take advantage of my friend or my sister in this manner, especially if you allow them to express and at least protect you in that capacity. But a lot of people go through social isolation and they don't see it as an abuse. They think it's part of love, or because my partner or my husband, let's say partner, because I don't always like to differentiate boyfriend, girlfriend, and all of that. But using the word partner just helps me to reduce you know, how many times I'm going to be repeating that. So just because your partner, you know, kind of has a way to manipulate you to stay indoors or stay, you know, more controlled, just for their own selfish reasons, because they know that you can see but you can't really see, like you're blind to a lot of things. Well, families will see, friends will see, any other person would see, and they will call them out. Even if they don't come to them to challenge them, they would get in your ears. And if they can get in your ears enough, they will get to your heart. And one day you're going to stand up and challenge them back, and that's not what they want. But when they clip your wings and clip anything that'll possibly make you feel like, I think there's something wrong and I need to do something. So as a result, they make sure that there's no access like that. The access is controlled. Spiritual or religious abuse. A lot of this kinds of abuse is pretty much around religious or spiritual beliefs. So let's say it could be that you want to do certain things. It could be that you want to wear certain clothes, um, or do certain things. They would kind of use the spiritual or religious beliefs to kind of, or religious teachings to kind of twist it and manipulate it in their favor, so that you can start feeling, you feel bad that you actually want to do these things and it's against the religion. So it's not for a good intention, pretty much. It's just to kind of control you. It's more to control and manipulate you. So there's a limit to what you can do, what you can say, and how you can act. So this is a perfect way for them to, you know, use that against you. It's pretty much in the title, spiritual or religious, abuse. Digital or technological abuse is another one. Oftentimes it's not often regarded. With the rise of technology, abusers may use digital devices as a means to control or monitor or harass their partners. Some are, you know, installing crawlers, things on their partners' phones, on their, on their gadgets, on their cars, just um, to monitor their partners without their consent. I know in some cases it kind of work in their favor, especially if there's an infidelity in the relationship. It's almost justified, because it's like, if I didn't do it, how would I have known that this is what you're up to? But again, it can be used as a form of abuse, because sometimes some people, it's not even a case of I'm hoping to catch you, I'm hoping to catch you in the act, but it's more or less like, who are you talking to? What are you people talking about? What are you doing? Where are you going? So it's not even so much about to prevent you from cheating or to catch you in the act, but it's so much about control. Because if they already know what is going on without your consent, it's easy for them to manipulate certain conversations you'll be having, you know, and they could even in some cases humiliate you publicly through your social media platforms. So it can vary. It's not like it's a straightforward, but any abuse that is done through technology devices or means, so that's what the abuse pretty much is. So but it's important for you to know, you know all these kinds of abuse, so you can hopefully know how to address each one as it comes. In some cases, it might be multiple different kinds of abuse. So it's not just one. So you could be dealing with digital abuse, you could be dealing with, sexual abuse, verbal abuse. No, so but at least you're able to describe and see the types and the forms and how they show up or reflect. But the goal here is for you to not only identify, but for you to also seek for help. Um, Help does not always have to be you going to therapy or rushing to some organization. For the extreme cases, of course, that should be recommended. But for subtle, not life-threatening kind of cases, it's important for you to seek support system, your family, your friends, and networks that you belong to. But it's important for you not to keep it to yourself. You have to be able to share it with people, the concerns, because until you share it, nobody is going to be in your head to know what's going on, except, like I said before, if it is something that is physical, then most likely they can see. Well, how come your eyes, or your nose is swollen, your mouth or your teeth is falling off, or there's some reddish or whatever signs, but something that is obvious, that is visible, you know. So the goal here is not just for you to learn the different types, but very importantly for you to know how to help yourself and seek for support. We don't always have access to therapy, not because the access is not there, but maybe we don't have the finances to do it. But there are so many other ways for you to seek help and walk through some of this, especially if it's not life threatening. Thank you so much for staying through with me today. I just hope you are learning one or two things from this channel. Feel free to leave your comments. Feel free to connect with me if you need to speak to me in person or over the phone or virtually. You can connect with me if you're single, dating, looking to, get some clarity. Uh, any form of help that you would need from me, especially as it pertains to relationships and marriage. Thank you so much.